Welcome back to our Richest YouTube channel. Today's class will learn us to make this beautiful rush skirt that we have here. That's this basque V waistline on the upper part and this beautiful rush on the front, on the side, as well as the back. So you can see, and then we have a pencil basic skirt just underneath this like this. It's a very simple tutorial and it's beginner friendly. This is something you like to learn. Kindly stay tuned to the end of this tutorial. Thank you. Okay, so we are focusing on the lower part of this dress, which is the ruche skirt. Okay, so now I have my basic skirt on this. There's a basic skirt, long skirt underneath the ruche effect that we see. So now I have my basic skirt. I'm using this very stretchy like a fabric. It's super stretchy, so I'm not going to be using my exact measurement. I'm just going to reduce it a bit. You can see how stretchy this is. It's very stretchy, and I want this skirt to be clinging. So now I have cut out my basic skirt, just normal we'll cut out our skirt. The waist I'm working with is 28 inches. 28 divided by 4 is 7. You can see I have my exact 7 inches here. I'm not adding allowance to it because it's stretchy. So if you want to put elastic on your waistline, you can increase the measurement that you used for your waist. But I want my actual waist measurement. Then from there you measure your hip. The hip I'm working with is 9 inches. Added 1 inch some allowance for hemming. So here my hip is 38. 38 divided by 4 is 9.5. So you can see that I have exactly 9.5 here. The knee length that I'm working with is 18 inches. So I reduced my hip by 1 inch so that I can have it fitted on the knee area, and that gave me around 8 inches, which is what I measured from here all the way down, and then I cut it out. This does not have a zipper, so this is my front and back. By the time you open it out, this is what it looks like. It does not have a zipper because it's very stretchy, so you can see what I'm talking about. So this is the basic skirt that's going to be underneath it. All you just need to do now is place them against each other and then sew it on the side. So now we move to the main skirt, which is the ruche part of our dress. So now you measure how long you want. So you need to measure where you want this ruche effect to stop. For me, I want it just around my knee. So the knee is around 20 inches in length from the waist. So because it's going to be ruched, which is same thing as gathering, it's going to reduce the size by the time it gathers. So I'm going to add extra 10 to 15 inches to that measurement. So 20 plus 10 is going to give me 30. So here I have about 32 inches, which is fine for me. So I'm cutting the front and back together. So you can see I folded it into 2 first before folding again into 4, so that I can cut my front and back together. So I have it folded like that, and I'm going to be using my hip measurement, which is the widest part. If your waist is the widest, that's what you're going to use to fold your fabric. So the hip I'm working with is 38 inches, like I mentioned. 38 divided by 4 is 9.5. So I'm going to have 9.5 inches here, and then because it's going to be ruched at the center front, I'm going to be joining together at the center front. So I'm going to add a half an inch seam allowance to it, but I'm not going to add any side seam. If your fabric is not that stretchy, you may add half an inch to the side seam as well, so that you can use that to sew it. So 9.5 plus half is going to give me 10 inches. So I'm going to fold my fabric by 10 inches, and then I'm going to cut it out so that we can work on it. Okay, so this is what I have now. So this is going to be my waistline. So my waistline, you're going to take your waist measurement, which is 28 divided by 7, because divided by 4, sorry, because this is folded into 4 for the front and back. So that's going to give you 7 inches plus half an inch to join it on the center seam line. That's going to be 7.5 inches. So like I said, if you measured your waist in such a way that you're going to be adding elastic, you can add extra to this, but because this is going to give it like a basket effect, it's going to be like a V shape, so you don't need to add elastic to it. So I'm just going to maintain what I have as my waist, and that's 7.5 inches, and then I'll mark that. I hope that's visible enough. So for the hip line, I'm going to measure my actual hip measurement of 9 inches, but this is going to be gathered, so it may reduce the length by the time it's gathered, so that your hip will not going to shift. so I'm going to add extra to that as well. You can add extra 3 inches and make it 12 inches instead of the 9 inches regular hip line that you work with. So I have 12 inches here. I hope that's visible. Okay, so I changed the chalk to yellow. I hope you can see it better. So on our hip line here, remember we now have 2 hip lengths. Okay, I have one as 9 inches and then the other one I added 3 inches extra. We made it 12 inches. So here I'm going to measure my hip, which is 9.5 inches plus half an inch for joining at the center. That's 10 inches, but I want to leave it at 10.5 because I want this upper one to be a little bigger than the pencil skirt that I have underneath. So I'm marking 10.5 inches here as well. I'm going to join it with my curved ruler. So this curved ruler sort of have a straight part here that can take these 2 hip length for me. So you can see now that it can take everything. So I'll place it like this now and then connect all of them together from my waist now to my hip length. Okay, so this is what I have. So the next thing now is to measure your knee so that I can give you that pencil structure, but it's actually not necessary because it's not going to reach the floor length. But I'm just going to measure that, and that's my actual knee measurement is around 18 inches and make that 20 inches, and then I'll deduct 1 inch from what I have here. So here I have 10.5 inches sort of. I'm deducting 1 inch and that's going to leave it at 9.5. Remember our center seam allowance is already inclusive. So that 9.5, I'm going to measure it all the way to the hem like this, and then I'm going to make it into a straight line and use my curved ruler to connect that to my knee length. Okay, so after connecting everything together like that, I'm going to come in with my scissors and then I'll cut it out. So after cutting it out on the side, you go over to the center seam as well, and then you're going to cut it out. So now the side is cut out. You can see what I have. So here on my center line, I'm going to cut out the center seam because we're going to be passing an elastic there, and we already added that half an inch seam allowance, so I'm cutting it out as well. So it's all cut out now. I'm just going to open up on the waist as well. Remember, this is folded into 4 by the length. That's why we have it on fold here. Okay, so this is what I have now. The next thing now is for me to go ahead. I'm going to sew it on the center line for both front and back. Then after sewing it on the center line for both front and back, I'm going to fold them on each other and sew it on the side. So I'll go ahead and do that now and bring you back to show us what we have. So I'm going ahead to sew it now. You can see I joined the center front together by half an inch at first. You can see the front and the back. Then after that, I just laid the front on the back and then I join it on the sides with half an inch as well. You don't want your allowance to be too much so that your dress is not going to be too bulky. So I'm going to be working with this half-inch elastic. Okay, it's a tiny elastic. You can use any color of your dress. In fact, I would have preferred to use like black for this, white for this, but black is going to be obvious because this is a tutorial, so I'm going to be using black. So now to cut this elastic, you're going to use your actual measurement. Remember, our actual measurement is 20 inches. That's the length that I want for this skirt. We just added few inches extra to it. So now I'm going to measure 20 inches in 4 places. Remember, we have the 2 center front, center back, and 2 sides. That's 4. So now I'm measuring 20 inches in 4 places, and then I'm going to cut it out. So after cutting it out now, we're going to go ahead and sew it to our allowance on the seam allowance side. So I have the 20 inches cut out now, and then I'm going to cut this into 4. So after cutting it into 4 now, I'm going to sew it on the seam allowance here. Okay, so you're going to sew very close to the seam line, but don't sew on your seam line. So just sew on the seam allowance to gather it. So now you can see that I'm leaving some few inches above, and you're going to do that below as well so that you can aim this inward neatly. So let me just cut my elastic and show us how we're going to. Okay, so I've cut it out now. This is one of them. So now to get how to sew it, all you just need to do now is to put them on fold by the length. So once you put it on fold by the length, you're going to notch it on the midpoint. So after notching it on the midpoint, you can see my notch here. So I'm going to put the 20 inches on fold as well and get the midpoint. So once you have your midpoint, you're going to place it where you notched. So that's going to be the center. You can hold that with your pin. So after holding it with your pin, you're just going to stretch one hand to the upper part and drag it and sew. The other hand you stretch it to the lower part and drag and sew. So I'll go ahead and sew this now. So I've gone ahead to sew it now. You can see I just sew it to the seam allowance there, and it has gathered it for me. So now turning it to the right side, you can see what we have. Okay, so this is what it looks like. So now I'll take it to the mannequin to wear it over the long skirt that we have, so that I can see the fitting and how I'm going to attach it to it. So this is what it looks like. So now I'm going to take this to the mannequin. Okay, so now we're on the mannequin. You can see I just placed the rush part on the basic skirt that we have already. So you can either make it on the same level like this, and then you sew them together. You will notch your center front, or you can make it in form of a basque. So remember, we did not start attaching our elastic. I left allowance, so you just hem this inwards now, and then you push it and then take it to the side, and then you sew it on it like this to give you this basque effect. So this is what it's going to look like on the front, and when you turn it to the back, you can see what we have on the back as well. So you just either place it on the same level like this, or you just push it back a little bit on the back, and you can see the rush effect that we have on the bum area. So likewise, you hem the lower part as well, so you have this rush, and then your pencil skirt is still going to be underneath like this. So this is what it looks like on the back. This is the side of the skirt. You can see it's really ruched, and this is what it looks like on the front part. So I hope you enjoyed making this beautiful tutorial with me. If you enjoyed it, let us know in the comment section. Like, comment, and subscribe to our channel, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.